my lovely beautiful humans, and welcome back to the Cosmetic Bureau of Investigation. So today's video is actually going to be quite interesting and possibly a little bit controversial, so just preparing myself for some of the drama, maybe. Okay, so as all of you guys know, Morphe is releasing their new Fluidity foundation this Thursday. They are launching 60 shades. The cool thing about it is that it's meant to be an inclusive foundation. So every time I hear about that, I get very excited. I am more of a medium skin tone, but the problem is I have a really weird undertone. Pinks are too pink, warms are too yellow, and neutrals are too pink on me. It's the weirdest thing ever. And ever since I started makeup, I've always struggled finding a good foundation. So what I've ended up doing is just mixing and matching, you know? So mixing a lighter foundation with a darker foundation, different undertones together until I get a pretty good match for myself. And it does get expensive, but in the end it is worth it just so I get a uniform color. Now, 60 shades, I was like, oh my gosh, like super excited and stuff. But lo and behold, drama started. The drama channels heard of it. They just started a whole bunch of unnecessary drama, in my opinion. The foundation hasn't launched yet. They haven't touched it. They haven't swatched it. They haven't seen the colors. As you guys know, a picture isn't necessarily the same thing as what's in real life, you know? So honestly, I thought, okay, you know, I'm all for holding brands accountable when they mess up and stuff like that. But I also do believe in giving products a chance. So I'm not going to go ahead and like press judgment, I guess you could say, until I've actually touched it, I've actually seen it. Then some influencers started coming out saying, oh, it's dry, it's staining, it's really hard to work with. But keep in mind, who are the ones that have been talking about it so far? Manny MUA, who in 2018 had a very big scandal, lost a lot of followers, lost a lot of support, and hasn't really recovered. Thomas Halbert, another one who's very well known for being over dramatic, who had problems with Jeffree Star, who ended up with a whole bunch of drama when he got caught that he was lying about a lot of stuff. Nicole Concilio, I'm not going to lie with her, I really don't follow her that much, but I did hear a lot of people complaining, especially during 2018. People really started becoming very vocal about the fact that she would give all of these products that were bad good reviews. She never put any criticism nor anything of them in her review. So when you really think about it, these three influencers really did have something to gain from all of this. Their reputation. People really like it when like brands or people are exposed, especially by really people like high up. So they did have something to gain. So I really did take their reviews with a word of caution, and especially considering that I didn't know these people's skin routines and stuff like that, which from experience will really affect how a product performs. So I managed to get my hands on a sample of this Fluidity foundation, and I really wanted to do a review on it. I really wanted to see what's up with it, to see if all of this like backlash was really like worth it, you know. I started hearing things about green undertones, gray undertones, and people freaking out about it. My experience working in makeup has taught me that major brands don't cater to everybody, and there are those outliers that do have weird undertones. For example, I remember working with this girl. She was really like fair. Like if I held up a sheet of white paper next to her skin, it would probably match her. That fair. Everything would pool pink, yellow, didn't matter how light it was. Like literally the only thing she could use was translucent powder. That's how fair this girl was, because her skin would really pull out the undertones and stuff like that. So hearing like about gray undertones, hearing about like green undertones, the concept of it does sound a little bit weird when we've been trained to warm, pink, and neutral. But from having all of that life experience, I was like, interesting. I wonder if it's going to work for people like this. So with that being said, let's get started on this video. It is very long. I have divided it up into sections, and I will add the timestamps down below. And we also have a special guest today on my channel. She doesn't talk much. It's my sister, and she was a little bit nervous to get on camera. But when her section comes up, I'll let you guys know why I added her. Okay? It's actually going to be a bias disclaimer. I'm going to be honest with you guys, and from here on forward, you guys can choose to either keep seeing my video or to click on a next video, okay? I do work with Morphe. I'm actually part of their trade show team. No, they did not ask me to make this video. That's actually how I got my sample of the foundation. We were actually handing out these cards during IMATS, so there's probably a few of you that have gotten their hands on this sample thing already, like sample card already. So good for all of you guys. But I do know that that is something that you guys should know, and something that's fair for you guys to know. So yes, I do work with them. No, am I like a really high up person? No. Do they really care if I'm doing this review? Probably not. Okay, so it's just something you guys should know, just to be honest, you know, for honesty's sake. I do work with them, so there's that. Also, the plus side of that is I do know quite a bit about the brand. I have had a chance to play around with their products. There's stuff that's amazing, and there's stuff that hasn't worked out for me just because of my personal skin tone, my skin texture, and stuff like that. So from here on out, you guys decide whether you guys stay and hear me out, or whether you guys decide to go. So this is part 2, the application. How does this foundation actually wear? What do the undertones mean? How great is this shade selection? And all of that good stuff. So I fell under level 3, and I did receive this sample card. Well, it's all empty right now because I did swatches of everything. But there are 12 shades per level. There are 5 levels. So level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4, level 5. I really wanted to try level 2, but my problem is I always tend to go too light with foundation, just because if it pulls yellow or orange, it doesn't really look as bad as if it's too dark. But I decided to get something that would be close to my actual skin color, so I'm level 3 tan. Now, the levels, the shades themselves go 3.1, 3.2, 3.3, and so on and so forth until you get to 3.120. Now, the undertones in this section were mainly like peach undertones. We had rich golden, peach, neutral, golden, slightly red, peach, rich gold green undertones, gold green undertones, slightly red, and then like rich red undertones. And I will add a picture of this up here so that you guys can get an idea of what these things actually look like. And you do get like a little bubble. The bubbles are quite small. They're about this size. And when we got there, they told us, you know, that's going to be enough for your face. And I'm here like, okay, sure. I have a pretty big face. I don't think so, but whatever. I was wrong. It's actually enough for your whole face. Now, what did I use to apply this? I went in with buffing brushes. Let me see if I have one right here. If I have the one that I used. Okay, well, the one that I used was actually this one. And for those of you that aren't familiar, this is the... It was like you got it if you turn into VIP Rouge, but it's actually brush number 56.5 of Sephora collection. It's their foundation brush, and I really like it because it's nice and fluffy, and it really lets me get under here when blending foundation. I didn't use a sponge because I really don't like using sponges for foundation unless it's to either A, finish blending it out, or if it's a really rather thick foundation. But for more like regular like liquid foundations or serum foundations, I really do prefer using a brush. And again, that's just personal preference, to each their own. But it does help with like product conservation, so your product will last you for a longer time. I did film myself doing the whole like applying the foundation and giving my feedback on it and stuff like that. I will add it, but just keep in mind it is a little bit blurry, and I'm sorry about that. But I was actually headed to the show, and it was about 2 hours away from where I was at, so I had a long trip ahead of me, so I just like kind of like really rushed through it, really just started like working fast on it. But my biggest points of having worked with this foundation already 3 times, because I'm actually wearing it today, I wore the shade F3.2 in the video. I'm wearing shade 3.3 right now. And I actually used shade 3.11 on my sister. And her clip is coming up soon. What I did was I prepped my skin how I normally do. Which means I used a toner or a facial water. This time I used the Grease Relief by Ulla Henriksen. I just sprayed it on a cotton round. I applied all over my face. I apply a moisturizer. I apply a night cream. That's my basic skincare routine for anything. And no matter what foundation you guys use, I really do recommend that you guys do skincare. It makes your foundation look so much better. During my whole time working in retail beauty, people would be so surprised when I would show them like how much skincare could improve how their makeup looks, you know, and really help with texture, cakiness, all of that stuff. So if you guys haven't tried it, go ahead and try it, you know, go to Sephora, ask for a sample, go try whatever you guys have at home, and apply skincare on one half of your face and then nothing on the other half of your face, and you'll notice a difference immediately. You use less product, your makeup looks better, and it wears for a longer time. So I apply my skincare routine as normal. Now, something that a lot of people might judge me on is that my skincare is more on the high-end side. And yes, I am very aware of that, but I don't use inexpensive skincare. I'm not using like La Mer or anything like that, but I am using more luxury brands such as Sunday Riley, Peter Thomas Roth, Caudalie, First Aid Beauty, a lot of stuff that you guys can find at Sephora. And I've used drugstore skincare in the past, but I don't like it. It has a lot of fillers, the ingredients aren't as potent, just a lot of stuff that can go wrong, you know. Today when I applied it, I did use the Ultra Repair Cream by First Aid Beauty. Now this one's pretty inexpensive. It is high-end, but when you really break it down price per ounce, it falls within like drugstore brand pricing. So if you guys don't have a lot of money to spend, that's actually a good one for your skin, whether you're wearing makeup or not wearing makeup. Either or. I never use inexpensive skincare, so it didn't really make sense to put cheap stuff on my face just because the foundation is cheap itself. I really do believe in using what works for you and mixing like cheap stuff with more expensive stuff, you know, when it's worth it, you know. And in my case, for my preferences, skincare is really worth the investment. My face, my skin is gonna stay with me forever. Makeup washes off. You can't really wash off skin texture, stuff like that. And I do have a history of bad skin. So there's that. Another thing I want to address before I play the clip of me putting on the makeup. I have a lot of texture in my skin. I have a lot of pores. My skin is naturally oily, but I do maintain it with a very, very intense skincare routine. Like I said, my skincare routine is pretty high-end, you know? Like $30 face washes, $30, $40 face washes, you know? $60 moisturizer, stuff like that. Not everybody's skin is the same, and not everybody takes care of their skin the same way. The first color that I used in the video is the shade F3.20, and it's described as a medium with golden green undertones. And I'm not gonna lie to you guys, like I fell in love with the color of that foundation. It matched me so good. For some reason in the video it doesn't show up that way, and I think it's because I was just depending on my lighting in here. It was like 5 in the morning when I was filming, so it was still dark outside. Like there was no light coming in. And I think all of that contributed to just like the foundation looking really weird on me. But I did take a lot of pictures, so I will add them in here right now. As you guys can see, the foundation looked pretty good out in the sunlight. That was something that was very, very good to see. The color did match me outside, which is really what matters. I mean, you could do your makeup in the dark and make it match you, but once you go outside, you'll look like a freaking Oompa Loompa. And nobody wants to look like an Oompa Loompa, okay, guys? Say no to Oompa Loompas. But yeah, that's another thing that I wanted to address. In the video, it looks kind of weird. Outside, as you guys can see, it did match me pretty well. So the application of it, one of the things that I noticed that people were saying was that you had to work with it really quickly. It dried down to super matte, blah, blah, blah. That wasn't the case for me. Oh, and the staining too, like that it stained you. None of that was the case for me. The foundation was actually really easy to blend. Like you would just like blend it all over. Like it didn't drag, it didn't dry. And I've had my experience with products that dry really quickly, like Makeup Forever's Full Coverage Concealer. Oh my gosh, I love that thing to death, which it will hold up to the most oiliest of skins. But it would, if I didn't blend it out quickly, it would set and then I couldn't move it around for the life of me. This foundation wasn't like that, you know. From what I had heard, I thought it was going to be similar to the Full Cover by Makeup Forever, but it wasn't. Even today when I was blending it out, I put it on, I let it sit a bit before I started blending, and I could still move it around. So that was nice to see. The other thing was how it settles onto the skin, and I actually quite like it a lot. It gives you a really airbrush finish, really smooth. It doesn't dry patchy or anything like that. I was actually very surprised because the foundation really does feel like a high quality foundation. Sometimes with drugstore brands, they'll look very pretty, very dewy, but as soon as I look at myself in the mirror after completing everything, I can see the cakiness and I can feel the cakiness. And with this foundation, that wasn't the case. I really couldn't feel it on my skin. To the point that you'll see in my last check-in video, I do mention I forgot I was wearing makeup. I was home from the show. It was like 8 or 9 at night or something like that, and I happened talking to my mom, and I legit forgot I had makeup on and just went like, Cha! And you can see like my eyeshadow's all messed up and stuff like that. So you definitely forget that you're wearing this thing. So it doesn't feel heavy at all. It's definitely not like Kat Von D or Becca that are really thick foundations. They definitely don't feel like that. And even my sister, like I was talking to her, and you guys will see me asking her questions, and she kind of like looks at me because she wasn't prepared to talk. She doesn't know much about makeup, but afterwards off camera, I was talking to her and I was like, so did it feel heavy or cakey? She's like, no. She's like, and you guys will see later in the video, she normally uses the One and Done by Urban Decay, and she's loved that thing. I remember I got one for gratis once and I gave it to her because it was like way too dark for me. And I told her, like, does it feel heavier than that foundation? And she told me no. She's like, surprisingly, it felt way lighter. She's like, normally I feel like stuff getting stuck to my face. She's like, with this one, she's like, I didn't even feel it at all. So definitely very lightweight. Okay guys, for part 3, I do want to address the swatches. Swatches and undertones. Now, something that I keep on hearing people speak on are the deepest undertones. the funny thing is, none of them fall within that undertone. And they're doing swatches on their hand and swatches on their arm, showing like, oh my gosh, like this undertone looks so weird, blah blah blah. And I'm just like, why? Just why? Guys, if I get a really light foundation with a pink undertone and put it on my hand, it's gonna look orange or red. If I get a yellow one, it's gonna pull orange, because it's not my skin tone. It's not my right undertone. Like, I can't judge the undertones of foundations that do not fall within my skin tone level or anywhere near like my whole like skincare, or my whole undertone, I mean. So what I decided to do was I did swatches on the front part of my arm right here, and I did swatches on this part of my arm right here. It's a lot more tan. You can kind of see the difference in it, and it was very obvious from seeing it. And I will start adding the video. I did put a side by side, and as you guys can see me scrolling through the colors, you can see that they look so different in different undertones, you know. On the lighter side, especially the deeper ones, like once you get to like 3.7 and above, on the light side, they look really orange. But on my more tan side, it looks pretty decent, you know. It doesn't look as orange, it just looks like it's darker than my skin tone. So with that being said, that's another thing that I wanted to like debunk. It makes no sense to start swatching foundation colors that are not on your skin tone level, whether they're too light or they're too dark. Obviously, your skin's gonna really pull the undertone of it, because you're gonna show how drastic it looks. I mean, just to give you guys an example right now. Okay, to give you guys the perfect example right now of what I'm talking about, I'm grabbing two of my regular foundations that I use and mix. The Huda Beauty in the shade 320G, Tres Leches, and 380 Bisque W from Lancome, okay? So, I'm going to put a little bit on my hand. Okay, so I just put two little swatches, and I'm going to put them on my arm, on my hand. Okay. You guys can see how you can tell one is a little bit too bright, one is kind of there, it's pulling a little bit pink on me. Back to the whole like I never have a foundation color. And sorry, I'm like looking behind me because I have my mirror right there. You can see they look off, but they don't look weird, you know. Now we're gonna do this. I'm grabbing literally a white sheet of paper, and I'm gonna put this foundation on there and just kind of blend it out. I put way too much of my Huda foundation, sorry. Okay. When you put it up against, let me make sure this is in frame. When you put it up against like a white like skin tone, the one that just looks slightly pink now looks red, and this looks freakishly yellow. If you were to put it like on an actual person, their undertones will kind of like interfere with the foundation. Like if I were to put one of these foundations on my best friend who is pretty fair skin, she's gonna look orange. Just because it does, she's a pink undertone, she's very fair, it's totally not gonna match her, you know, she's gonna look orange. And that's my whole point with all of this. I can't swatch the level 5 and the level 4 and give you guys my opinion on undertones, because they're not gonna look right on me. They're gonna clash with my undertones, they're gonna clash with my skin tone. It's best for people of that shade level to kind of do their own swatches. Another thing that I wanted to address was the staining. The foundation doesn't stain. It really, really doesn't. I know, like, Thomas Halbert, I think it was, he showed himself, like, scratching at his arm with, like, a scrub, like an exfoliating glove, and he wasn't even wearing, like, the level 5 foundations. He was wearing, like, the level 3, I think, 3 or 4. And even, like, the darkest ones of level 3 did not stain. Like, I had the easiest time removing the foundation. And I always do a check at the end of the night to make sure that I do remove all of my foundation, which is just getting a cotton round, spraying it with toner, and rubbing it all over my skin to see if I still have any product residue. And it came back clean. It was really easy to take off. Guys, I use this to take it off, which is the Target brand Up and Up oil-free eye makeup remover. It's like meant to be a dupe for the Lancome by Facile makeup remover, and it came off. Like, you guys can see, this is the arm where I had the darker swatches. Nothing. This is my other arm. I don't know if you guys can see it. Yeah, there we go. I better not fall right now. Nothing. There's no staining, guys. Like, I literally just use that stuff to take it off. So again, I can only speak for level 3, but I'm not sure where they're getting the issues of staining and stuff like that from. I don't know. Okay, guys, so I did 2 check-ins. One was at 5 p.m. and the other was at 8 p.m. And as you guys can tell, the foundation held up pretty decently. So I'm having her as a reference point, not only because her skin tone is obviously deeper than mine. Like, you can really tell we have different undertones. We have different skin depths. But also because her skincare routines are completely different. So with me, I'm pretty high maintenance. I have a lot of, like, moisturizers and serums from big brands, like really big expensive brands. So I thought it would be good to bring her on here because she's very minimal with her skincare routine, as many of you lovely, beautiful humans are. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to prep her skin. So her skin, for the most part, is dry. It does have an even tone, as you can tell right here. So we're going to see how much this foundation is going to hold up on her and how much it's going to be able to cover and even her skin tone. The first thing that I'm going to do is I've sprayed the Ulla Henriksen Grease Relief facial water on a cotton round, and I'm just going to swipe it all over her skin. Now, what this is going to help me do, it's going to help remove any dead skin cells that she may have, but it's also going to allow the moisturizer to penetrate more deeply her skin. And I'm just swiping that everywhere. And when you're doing this to prep your skin, really make sure you get into the nooks and crannies, like the sides of your nose, like really under here, like the bottom of your lip. Make sure you also pick up on your neck. Next, I'm just going to apply some moisturizer. In this case, we're going to use the Ultra Repair Cream. Now, the good thing about these two products is they're really more on the affordable side. So, kind of like the foundation that we're going to be using. I'm going to pick up this much moisturizer, warm it up in my hands, and just apply it to your skin. Now, when I'm working with people with really dry skin types, I also like adding a layer of Smashbox of the Photo Finish Primerizer. It's a really lightweight primer, but I really just like it because it does help with eliminating some textures. So if you're in a rush and you really don't have the time to establish a set skincare routine, but you're going to have a big event, this is a really good primer to kind of like fake your way through it and make your foundation look way better. And to cover up some of the pores, I'm going to use the Garnier Fructis primer that they launched a while back, but it's just more of a thicker consistency. And I'm just going to use a little bit. It's pretty thick. Now, the funny thing is that my sister and I have a really similar problem when it comes to foundations. Our undertones really aren't catered to in the traditional beauty industry standards. For me, like I said before, warm foundations pull to yellow, pink foundations pull to pink, and neutrals for the most part normally look too pink on me. So I'm just going to do a quick color match on her to see if I can get something close to her skin tone. Look straight at the camera. Okay, so I just did 2 swatches on her, and I'm going to go with the shade 3.110, which is the shade described as a neutral, a deep tan with slightly red undertones. I'm going to apply it on half of her face, and we'll see how it looks. But from what I've seen so far, it looks like it's going to be a pretty good match on her. Okay, so I'm just using a flat brush to spread it out because it's a small little sample size. I'm going to use a buffing brush like this just to really work it into the skin. So what I noticed with this foundation is a little bit really does go a long way. One of the complaints that I kept on hearing was that it would dry really fast, that you need to work with it really quickly. If not, it sets. To be honest, I haven't found that to be the case. And I think part of it is because I really do work on prepping the skin before putting anything on it. Even right now, it is settling pretty quickly, but it's not really fully dry. Like right now, if I were to like touch it, I could still work with it. Even right now with the brush, you guys can tell I'm still being able to work with this. Okay, so quick question for you. Does it feel thick or heavy on your skin?
No.
Does it feel like, what foundation do you normally use? She uses the Urban Decay One and Done.
There we go.
Ask her, and usually she says the little squishy bottle with the pump.
Yes.
Okay, guys. So she usually does use the Naked One and Done, which is almost like a BB cream, sort of. Would you say that this foundation feels like about as like lightweight as that one?
Yes, it feels about the same.
Okay, cool. So, as you guys can tell, like I didn't use much of the sample. There's still some in there, so I'm gonna go ahead and finish the other half of her face. But do me a favor, look straight at the camera. You guys can see that it really is helping blur out everything. The other thing that I really like about it is it's giving her a really good match. Normally, foundations will pull really orange on her or really pink, so a lot of the times she doesn't have a good match. I think the closest thing that I have been able to find for her 90, and even then it wasn't the right shade for her. I'm going to pick up some more foundation, and I'm just going to go dot dot and just kind of like spread it around her face a bit. Now, I probably wouldn't use a beauty blender for this foundation if you're trying to get the full coverage out of it. And that's just a normal rule for everything. Usually with beauty blenders, you have to layer on the product a little bit more. So I prefer to use a brush when it comes to stuff like that. Now right here, you can tell a little bit of her discoloration is still peeking through. And we could go in with a color corrector, but I really want to see how much this foundation will be able to even her out. So I'm picking up a bit more product, and I'm just applying it right here, giving her a little funky goatee looking thing. But we're just going to go ahead and we're going to stipple it on. Just like really press it onto the skin. Another thing that I really like about this particular color on her skin is that it's giving her a really pretty glow to her skin. So normally her face will look pale, or it will look a little bit on the ashier side, and we have to kind of color correct it with a deeper powder foundation. than what her skin tone is. But even right now, you can tell she looks pretty airbrushed. What I love about her skin is that she doesn't really have pores. And she doesn't really have texture on her skin besides the texture that she gets from dryness. With me, in my case, I have a lot of big pores due to acne back in the day and me not being able to stop picking at my skin, but she doesn't. So foundation tends to look really smooth except in the dry patches. This one is holding up to that. I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to apply a little bit more here. Does your face feel dry at all?
No, it feels moist.
It feels moist. But does it feel like sticky or anything like that?
No, it actually feels better than the Urban Decay foundation.
Okay, guys. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to pick up my camera and I'm just going to zoom it in really close. Just like kind of like let you guys see a true close-up of what her skin looks like right now. Because I know from afar it can look a little bit different. But you can tell even like in normal lighting and even from what I'm looking at in real life, her face is a pretty good match for her chest. Which like I said, normally is not the case. I'm going to do the zoom in and then we're going to check in with her in a few hours after she goes about her day to see how well the foundation is holding up on her. Okay, so as you guys can see, it doesn't look cakey on her skin. And I haven't set it yet. Like, this is literally what it looks like. So, nothing too heavy, nothing too cakey. We didn't use, like, a massive amount of product. Even right here, which is normally the problem area for most people, it's holding up pretty well. And like I said, right here is where she has a lot of her discoloration. And you guys can see that it looks pretty even. It matches pretty well with everything else. So, texture-wise, it's pretty good. Color match-wise, it's also pretty good. Okay, guys, so we're back here with my sister. And I'm just going to do a quick close-up of the foundation. So you guys can tell it's still laying down pretty nicely on her skin. So it's laying down pretty nicely on her skin. It has held up. Right now it is currently 5:49. So she went her whole day with this look on. It's also good to mention that she hasn't powdered herself because she doesn't do that. She hasn't retouched anything because she doesn't do that. And she also fell asleep for like an hour in the makeup because she totally does do that. So all in all, it looks pretty good. And even if we were to powder the foundation, like if she actually powdered her face, it will look really good. So we're going to do that real quick and we'll be right back so you guys can see how it will look then. Okay, guys, so this is her after me retouching. You can tell all of the foundation is still on there with a little bit of powder. The oiliness, not really oiliness, but just like the sweat and everything really did go away. So you can tell right there. So say if she needed to extend her makeup to go out at night or something like that, then she definitely would be able to just like touch up a little bit and then just take off to whatever she's going to do next. So yay! Let's give my lovely sister a round of applause for volunteering to do this. Even though I'm pretty sure she's going to cuss me out. Okay, guys, so I just do want to add some commentary to my sister's part of the video. The foundation lasted pretty amazing on her. And like her skin type, she has a dry skin type. She doesn't have very many pores, but she does have a lot of discoloration. So she does have like extra pigmentation right here. Underneath her eyes, there's a bit, but for some reason it's lighter rather than darker. She has a very uneven skin tone. The foundation I applied it on her and super easy to blend, super easy to just like get a match for her skin. What I did was I did open the sample bubbles and I did swatches on her. So if you're trying to color match yourself, apply at least a moisturizer first. And that's for matching any foundation. Put on a moisturizer the oils in the moisturizer or the humidity from the moisturizer will help the foundation oxidize if that's what it's going to do. So rather than later throughout the day you get darker, you get the darkness right away and everybody's happy. She got nothing for being part of this video, except me doing her makeup and taking care of her kids for a little bit. So there's no compensation of her on that part. So I didn't tell her what to say. As you guys can tell, she doesn't even know what freaking foundation she wears. So there's that. Originally what I was gonna do was do half of my face without skincare, half of my face with skincare, but then I realized that me skipping out on a day of skincare really wasn't going to make a difference as to how the foundation wore. Like, I literally could still get away with it. So that's why I got her to step in and she let me use the foundation on her, which one let you guys see how the colors looked on deeper skin tones, but also it gave you guys more of a realistic view of what this foundation is going to look like on somebody who doesn't take care of their skin, if that's your case, you know. Which, to each their own. To each their own. I'm not gonna... I really do believe in skincare though, so go buy yourself a really good moisturizer. My final thoughts on this foundation. It's a pretty good foundation. I actually really, really like it. I'm actually surprised that it held up the way that it did. I'm gonna add a video up here so you guys can kind of see, or actually I'll add it separate. Normally my foundation tends to hold up pretty well. Now my skin has balanced out a little bit more and stuff like that, so it holds up. But I use the Huda Beauty foundation mixed with Marc Jacobs most of the time, the Marc Jacobs Remarkable. It gives me a lot of coverage and it gives me a lot of longevity. The only thing is, when you guys do the math, it's $100 for both foundations. Marc Jacobs is $55 and I think Huda Beauty is like $45, something like that. It's a lot of money and it's not practical to do that every single day. What I like about the Morphe foundation, it's only $18. I actually found I got two pretty good matches. So, but it's more of a, I could do either other color and that would be fine, versus having to buy two colors to get one, you know. So I could use either color and it'll match me fine. That's another thing that I like. I finally got a match. Guys, I don't even have a match in Fenty. I know people use Fenty as the gold standard and that's another thing, but I don't even have a match in Fenty, and I do have a match in this Morphe foundation. So that was pretty cool to see. It was pretty cool to just put on the foundation and be able to be like, it matches me. I have a perfect match. Like, it was so cool. So that was just something that was pretty amazing. So that it didn't make me break out. I've already worn it twice and it stays on pretty well. So that's something that I really appreciate. What's another thing? It's very comfortable to wear. It's very lightweight. Like I said before, I forgot that I was wearing it. I even smeared my makeup. That was fun. I did get oily around the nose area, but when you guys see it compared to my normal foundation routine, I normally do get oily around that area anyways. What I did like about it, how I retouch, which I really even don't retouch. I'm lazy. I hate powdering my face. It's bad, but I hate carrying around a powder, guys. Like, that's personal preference, but whatever. What I'll do when I notice that I get oily, I'll go into the bathroom, I'll get paper towels, you know, like those brown, like, scratchy kind. I'll wet it a little bit. I'll just make it, like, damp, and I'll just press it on my skin. So that helps pick up the oils, but it still leaves your foundation intact. I did that with the Morphe foundation. I still had a lot of, like, foundation on my face, so that was actually a pretty cool way to touch up. When my sister was in the chair, you guys could see she looked a little bit shiny, but she had taken a nap in the foundation. We put it on at like 8 in the morning and took it off at like 5, so that was like about 9 hours in. She doesn't really take care of her skin, which is always an issue for her, and normally when she wears foundation, it's like gone or sucked into the dry patches of her skin. In this case, when I put it on her, and you guys will see in the, like you guys saw too, I just went in to retouch. I didn't even absorb the oil. I just got some Beauty Bakery setting powder, pressed it on top of her skin, and she was good to go. Like literally it looked like I had just applied the foundation on her, guys. So I was very, very surprised with that. My overall thoughts is go and give it a try, guys. It's not the horrible foundation that everybody has been saying. To be honest, I didn't really expect it to be. I do know that a lot of people right now on YouTube do have an agenda when it comes to reviewing products, and nobody's really honest anymore, you know. They don't recommend it for dry skin types. My sister's a dry skin type. She was fine with it. If I managed to get my hands on a level 1 sample card, I'll put it on my best friend. Her skin's as dry as the desert. Like, she's getting better with skincare though, so her skin's getting better, but I want her to try it out too. I managed to get a sample for her. I will, or I'll take her in store once it launches and I'll get her to do it, and I'll do like a little Instagram story so you guys can see how it looks on her, how it wears on her, and stuff like that. But overall, it's not a bad foundation. It's not a bad price. If you know that there are products that work with you, that's another criticism I did hear. People saying, oh, well, how it obviously is going to work if you use expensive skincare or you're setting it with expensive powders and blah, blah, blah. Nothing from a line is always going to work for everybody. And you're seeing the same thing right now with the Fenty concealer and setting powder. Some people really love the concealer and hate the setting powder. Some people really like the setting powder and hate the concealer. You don't always have to use all of the products from the same brand. Definitely mix and match as much as you guys want. I mean, even today my face is mix and match. I am wearing the Morphe James Charles palette on my eyes with the Stila glitter in Kid and Karma, the eyeliner by Physicians Formula, brows by Benefit, it's the Cabral, concealer is Tarte Rainforest of the Sea, contour is Benefit Hoola Bronzer, the blush is the Too Faced Love Flush, the lipstick is, what is this thing called? The L'Oreal Paris, the new, what are they called? Like the Rouge, Signature Rouge. These are actually amazing, guys. So I'll do a little video on this too. The Signature Rouge liquid lipstick. Setting powder was Beauty Bakery's Flower Power. What else? I think that's it. Oh, and highlighter is Becca Champagne Pop. There's a mix of high-end and low-end and a little bit of everything in between right there. It's the indie brands, prestige brands. You don't always have to use everything for a brand. Not everything's going to work for you, you know. Even with skincare, the skincare that I used was Ulla Henriksen, First Day Beauty. Did I use anything else today? Oh, and my Clinique Pep Start Eye Cream. Again, different price points, different brands. You don't always have to use everything. So I guess today's story of the day is, or theme of the day, lesson of the day, is just be a smart consumer. Don't always listen to everybody and everything you see on YouTube. Look for people who are going to give you honest reviews, and look at a lot of reviews, you know. If you know a particular person has conditions like skin conditions similar to yours, such as dryness, oiliness, pores, texture, and even skin tone, check them out, you know. Keep an eye on what they say about a certain product, because it might be the same as you, you know. And don't just focus on one person's review. Try maybe for example, my skin's oily, you know. Look for 2-3 people with oily skin types, you know, because everybody's skin story is different. So that's my opinion for this. I'll give it, I would definitely say try it, guys. Give it a try. You guys will be surprised, and you guys are more likely than not going to end up saving money. So just, that's all I have to say about this. So if you guys like my video, make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe. Leave a comment down below. Let me know what you guys think about our current environment in the beauty community, and if you guys are going to give the new Morphe foundation a try. Also, thank you for everybody who likes and comments and subscribes. It really does mean a lot to me when seeing you guys interact right there. Big shout out to the last person that left me a comment on my previous video. I'm actually going to put a little screenshot of her up here as well. So thank you. I did read your comment. It was really nice to see, and I'm really glad you enjoyed my brow tutorial. If you guys haven't seen it, it's how to shape your brows by using the golden ratio, and I will put a link to it in the description down below. So thank you for watching, guys, and until next time.